All right, today we're diving deep. We're going to unlock the science behind why we get hungry, exploring this hidden network that drives our appetite from signals firing in your brain all the way down to the universe of microbes living in your gut. Let's get into it. So let's kick things off with something you've probably heard of or even wondered about, the munchies. It's one of the most famous effects of cannabis, right? But the real reason it happens tells us something absolutely incredible about our own bodies. Well, it turns out it's not really about the plant itself. The crazy thing is, your body has its own built-in cannabis system. Seriously, we actually produce molecules that are super similar to the ones in the plant, and this internal network is running right now, helping to keep some of your most basic functions in check. And that system? It's called the Endocannabinoid System, or the ECS for short. You can pretty much think of it as your body's master regulator. It's this huge communication network that's always working to keep your internal world stable, a state scientists call homeostasis. And you guessed it, one of its biggest jobs is managing your appetite. Okay, so the ECS basically has three core parts. First, you've got the messengers. These are called endocannabinoids. Then you have the receivers, which are basically locks on your cells called CB1 and CB2. And finally, you've got the cleanup crew, a bunch of enzymes that swoop in and break down the messengers after they've delivered their message. It's this perfect little system of send, receive, and repeat. But here's where it gets really wild. See, most signals in your brain travel one way, right? Like a one-way street. But the ECS? It sends messages backwards. A neuron releases these endocannabinoids. They travel back to the neuron that just fired, and they latch onto its CB1 receptors. What does this do? It basically hits the brakes, quieting down the signals that tell you, hey, you're full. So in a nutshell, the ECS literally silences the I'm full message, which makes you want to eat more. For the longest time, whenever people talked about cannabis and appetite, it was all about one thing, THC. You know, the part that gives you the high. But as it turns out, that's just a tiny piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. So let's introduce a new player, cannabigerol, or CBG. It's often called the mother cannabinoid because other compounds, including THC, actually start out as CBG. But here's the kicker. CBG is non-psychoactive. It doesn't produce a high. And that little fact made scientists ask a really interesting question. So the big question became, could you still get the appetite-boosting effect without the high? Could a non-psychoactive cannabinoid like CBG still make you hungry? In 2016, a team of researchers decided to find out for good. If it worked, it could totally change how we think about this whole system. The experiment they designed was actually pretty brilliant in its simplicity. They took a bunch of rats that were already full, totally satisfied or satiated, and they gave them CBG. The whole point was to see if this stuff could make them ignore those I'm full signals and start eating again. And the results? Whoa, they were pretty shocking. In just 2 hours, the rats that got the placebo, they barely ate anything, less than a gram. But the rats that got CBG, they ate more than double that amount. This was huge. A non-psychoactive compound was a powerful appetite stimulant. But what's really fascinating is how it made them eat more. It wasn't about making them eat bigger meals. Nope. Instead, it made them want to eat more often. They started eating sooner and had more frequent meals. It basically revved up the desire to eat, and it did it without any of the negative side effects. That was a game changer. You see, this discovery that a compound with no high could have such a big impact on hunger was a massive clue. It basically told scientists that their old, simple model of the endocannabinoid system, well, it was just the tip of the iceberg. The reality was way more complex. For a long, long time, we thought there were really only two main endocannabinoids that mattered, AEA and 2-AG. For years, these were the stars of the show, the ones that got all the attention. But get this, we now know that's not even close to the whole story. Scientists have found over 200 related molecules, these lipid mediators, that are all part of this expanded system. We went from a duo to a full-blown orchestra. This system is so much bigger than the original that it needed a new name, the Endocannabinoidome, or ECBOME for short. We're talking about a massive network that doesn't just touch appetite, but also metabolism, inflammation, our mood, you name it. And of course, just when you think you've got your head around it, there's another twist. This massive internal network, the ECBOME, it doesn't work alone. It's in a constant conversation with a whole other universe living inside of you. And what is that universe? It's your gut microbiome. As one paper puts it, it's the ensemble of the trillions of microorganisms that stably populate the intestine. We're talking bacteria, viruses, fungi, a whole ecosystem in your gut. Now, here's the incredible part. Scientists have found a direct line of communication between these two massive systems. They call it the EC-domain gut microbiome axis. And honestly, this is one of the most exciting frontiers in biology right now. And what's so critical to understand is that this is a two-way street. The little microbes in your gut can actually create compounds that change your endocannabinoid levels. And at the exact same time, your endocannabinoid system can send signals that change which microbes thrive in your gut. It's this constant, incredible feedback loop. So, why should you care about all this? Because when this communication breaks down, when this axis gets out of balance, it seems to be a huge player in what are called psychometabolic disorders. These are conditions that really sit at the crossroads of our mental and our physical health. And you see this connection so clearly when you look at eating disorders. We're finding that issues with this EC-biome gut microbiome axis pop up again and again in conditions like anorexia, binge eating disorder, and bulimia. The details might be different for each one, but the underlying connection is there, linking what's happening in the gut directly to the parts of the brain controlling our relationship with food. So what we're left with is this incredibly complex, interconnected web. And yeah, figuring it all out is a huge challenge for science. But hidden inside that complexity is so much promise, the real possibility of finding brand new ways to treat some of our toughest health problems. Which brings us to one last really big thought. If our gut microbes are so deeply tied into the systems that control our appetite, our mood, our very behavior, could rebalancing our gut actually hold the key to treating some of our most challenging eating disorders? It's a provocative idea, and it's exactly where the science is headed next. Thanks for joining this explainer.